there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Bell to Bells, your women's wrestling wire. I am Mr. Warren Hayes, welcoming you to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for being here. Subscribe if you are not already a subscriber. But hey, otherwise, we're very, very happy to have you today. Just as we are very, very happy to be conducting another interview with another female wrestler who is out there running the independent circuit, and she's been doing it for a couple of years now, and she will be participating this weekend. If you're watching this on the day that we release this video, she will be participating this weekend, December 12th, at Synergy Wrestling's first ever women's only Garden State Invitational that takes place, as I mentioned, December 12th. 2020. You can watch it on independent wrestling.tv if you feel so inclined to. And she will be there in this tournament. And who is this person? Hey, it's Riley Shepard. Riley, it is good to have you. Welcome to Bell to Bells.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. So happy to be here.
We're very happy to have you here as well. Let's start by talking about the great icebreaker, the one thing that everyone has in common this year, 2020, the pandemic. That's the one thing we all have in common this year, don't we?
We do. It's a great equalizer, I like to call it.
Pretty much. I don't care who you are affected in one way or another. But it has been, joking aside, it has affected independent wrestling across the board, right? The promotions, wrestlers on all levels. How have you been faring throughout it all this year?
I feel like I've learned a lot in this year. It's crazy because the past 2 years have been a year of growth for me personally, and within wrestling and outside of wrestling. I feel like a lot of us are just trying to figure out the best way to adapt, because right now we don't have control over COVID. And I feel like for a lot of people, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm one of those people who I need to control things.
Okay.
Like within my realm, I'm one of those people who is like very determined, but in order for me to reach my goals, I have to have some ounce of control. So COVID is one of those things that you don't have control. You're kind of just at the whims of it, at the whims of the government, at the whims of these policies that everyone's making, changing day by day, week by week. And so for me, I think the biggest thing I learned and that I'm trying to take forward with me is control what's within your realm,
Sure.
Control your own controllables. And for me, that's kind of how I've been spending the last year, trying to wrestle, trying to train as much as I can, but just kind of growing personally and doing that.
That makes sense, and I guess that it's an excellent use of your time for that as well. That there's a lot of self-reflection that happens within these moments. Yeah. I agree.
Yes. Yep. You're home. You got to reflect.
Exactly. That's.
Anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much Netflix you can watch in a day before you have to. So you've been wrestling for about just a little over 3 years, right? From your debut, if I'm not mistaken.
Technically, my debut was 4 years ago, but I was out for a year with my ACL. So yes, math-wise, it's been about 3 years.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about. I mean, you've been fairly new on the circuit, and that's it. You were out for an extended period of time in 2019 with an ACL ACL reconstruction surgery. How does it feel to be back? Because you mentioned on your you have a wonderful website, by the way. Everyone should check it out as well. You mentioned that it was the mental struggle with rehab was difficult as well. Tell me all about it. How did that to get from the injury right back to a return in 2019?
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about. So when I mentioned about the growth within the last 2 years, the first year was because of my ACL. So yeah, from the start of the injury, I got injured competing at New York Championship Wrestling in a fatal four-way to become the first ever women's champion. And I went to catch Christina Marie. And when I caught her, my right knee just kind of caved in towards my left knee. And normally, if I catch someone, I'm like, all right, we're time to toss them, time to toss them. And it was my knee just went, nope. And she fell back on me, almost got the pin. And I luckily had the wherewithal to be like, no, this is not how it's ending. Um, but I remember just during that match, kind of everything I tried, I would try and pick her up or try and pick up one of the other people, and my knee would cave in, and I'm like, all right, well, go to something else. And luckily, I was able to adapt well enough and work through it well enough where I did actually win, which was very nice. And I got to be the first ever women's champion. And then everything kind of just happened where it blew up, and I went, okay, this may be a more serious injury than I'm used to, because in the past I've had fractures, I've torn a ligament in my ankle. I was a gymnast and I was a police officer, so my body's a little banged up already. But I like know what I can work
Right.
through, and I realized that this kind of wasn't one of those things that I was going to be able to keep working through. And so, long story short, after numerous doctors' visits of them thinking it was my MCL and that I could rehab, it came back that it was my ACL injury, and it wasn't just like a little tear; it was completely torn
Oh,
off.
okay.
And when they showed me the picture, it's like my femur, and then it looked like a snail,
Oh my
just curled in on itself.
God.
It was just, yeah. It was like, oh, look, cute little snail, but that should not be that way. So, like, silver lining, it's cute. I don't know. But so they gave me two choices of, okay, you can either rehab the MCL for a couple months and return to the ring on the hinge brace that Steve Austin, everyone's seen, those huge hinge braces, which took out up pretty much majority of my leg. Just
Right,
it
right.
did.
Okay.
It was a short person. It took up a good portion of my leg.
It's like a one
Um,
size thing.
or
It's like one size fits all kind of thing, no matter how long or short your legs are. It's like, here you go.
I mean, they size you for it, but I don't think they take into consider like the tightness they size you for, but I don't think they take into consideration the height of it.
Okay. Fair enough.
So I'm pretty sure I stood next to someone. They're like, yeah, that's almost your entire, like there's just a little bit peeking above and beyond and
Okay.
below, but it's majority. You're like, uh, and then the other option was obviously surgery, which I'd be out 9 months to a year, and I went, well, I'm not doing that. Which was not the best choice. But I had quite a few big matches in March. I debuted for Shine.
Hmm.
I wrestled on Future of Honor 2 matches. I wrestled against Nyla Rose, Warriors of Wrestling, and also NYCW again. And I wrestled those matches and went, this is dumb. Because I'm running around on this brace, and in the back of my head is just, it's going to get hurt again. It's going to get hurt again. So, for my safety and just overall safety, I realized I needed the surgery. And in March, sorry, January is the injury, and then in March I went and got the surgery, and I was out. And the biggest part, it was so much, as someone who has spent all of her life being athletic. I've been a gymnast since I was, 7 years old. Everything, I've always been athletic, whether it was gymnastics, policing, kickboxing. Like, I've done something, and now literally my leg was taking out from under me, and I had to relearn to walk, relearn to run, relearn to jump. And the running part was so funny. I hate running. I don't like
Okay.
running at all. Like, it's awful. I used to have to run in a platoon formation for police academy Monday through Friday, and hated every moment of it. But as soon as they put me on the treadmill, they're like, okay, start jogging. I went, yes. It was just that moment of, I'm progressing, and I'm starting to get back to normalcy. And it still was months out to being able to even return
Sure.
to the ring, because I don't know if people realize the ring is not
Hmm.
stable. So even though I could run on a treadmill, I would try and run across the ring, and the bounce from the the wood underneath just was too
It
much for my knee.
it did knock
So
you
I
off
was
balance a
months
bit.
out. Yeah, it I could feel it
Okay.
give, and I knew that I wasn't ready yet. So I think for me, the mental aspect was just taking it step by step instead of realizing I'm out and seeing everyone continuing on their journey and I'm over here kind of stalled. But I wasn't stalled. I wasn't stuck. I just was taking baby
Hmm.
steps. And for me, it was that mental aspect of, okay, well, once again, do what's within your realm to control. And I knew what my goals were, and I knew I had to rehab 3 times a week. I had to do yoga to get my mobility back because that was a huge thing to be able to even sit back on my knee, like kneel down and sit back was a huge thing. So a lot of it was just concentrating on myself, concentrating on my ability, and being able to be a commentator, back on commentary for BCW, Dropkick Depression, New York Championship Wrestling, Rogue One Warriors. The fact that these promotions brought me in for commentary, that helped so much because I was around people I love and the business I
Hmm.
love and being a part of it in a way that I never thought possible. But just having that outlet also helped my mentality so much, and it helped me get a skill I never thought possible. So all of that was just, it was growth.
Well,
It definitely was growth.
and it's yeah, it, quite the journey nonetheless. You know, like you said, it's just having to relearn all of that stuff. And I mean, you start running, you start running again. You know, and I could just picture, just just you being like, oh, I didn't know how much I missed this. You know, like I never would have missed it before.
Something you didn't really like and never would choose to do on your own, but being able to do it again was just, and box jumps was the other thing. As soon as I could box jump, I'm like, yes, record this.
That's fantastic. You you trained at the Monster Factory, right? And
Mm.
like right off the bat, you trained with Danny Cage, the man formerly known as Punishment Martinez, Damian Priest. How was that experience? Do you feel like having those guys? I mean, these are seasoned dudes, right? Did you feel that you had maybe a bit of a leg up coming out of your training and heading into active competition?
I think it definitely helped for sure. I had an amazing foundation, and I feel like Damian Priest is one of those people who I was so, full disclosure, I was so intimidated by him when I first started training with them, like so intimidating.
Because he's
And
huge. Like he's.
he, he's so tall, but not even that. He has this aura about him, like you know he's a star, and you can see that on NXT all the
Mm-hmm,
time. You know he's a star, and you know he carries
mm-hmm.
himself that way. And I think just me going, I'm this awkward turtle, little geek, and this big dog. And I went, oh no, he's not gonna know what to do with me. He's gonna be so confused by me. But the good thing is, I think he realized that I wanted to give 110% in whatever they taught me and being there and training constantly. And I think as soon as he realized that, oh, this woman is going to do this, and he started giving 110% to my training as much as I put in. And so I would like, even towards the end before he ended up signing his contract. Um, I would go early to training and work out with him when a couple other people who wanted to take that extra time. And he just took that time to work more with us outside of training. So we already are training for about 4 hours a night, but we would come in and an extra hour just to be able to work with him. And I think that extra time and having someone who cared enough to see us progress was super helpful in getting my foot in the ring
All
pretty
right.
much. So it was awesome. I got very lucky with where I
Yeah,
started.
yeah, absolutely. So some good training straight off, and yeah, it's probably paid off because you've in the short time that you've been wrestling pro, I mean, you've wrestled women like you mentioned a couple earlier, Nyla Rose, but there's Tennille Dashwood, both members of the Sea Stars as well, Tasha Steeles. Let's say we're moving forward here and COVID magically disappears and everything is possible. Who would you like to face in the future or near future?
Oh goodness, everyone, literally everyone. And I don't care about gender. I'm one of those people who I literally just want to step in the ring with everyone and just tear it up and test myself against whoever I can. I know I do have a few people on my bucket list, but it's not like my bucket list. If I could, it would be 20 feet long. I know Kimberly is definitely on the top of that for sure. I definitely would love to wrestle her. I would love to step back in the ring with Carissa Rivera, who's someone who I train with, and just pretty much everyone who is on the show this Saturday. I've gotten lucky where I've wrestled Gabby and Tasha already. I've wrestled Willow in a triple threat, but I'd love to face her in singles bout. But Jordan Blade, Trisha Dora, Erica, just like everyone who is on this card, I want to wrestle so bad. And I get to wrestle Holiday. Yeah. Like that right there is bucket list right there. So I'm just everyone.
So basically, so you 20 feet long bucket list, but who's at the top, Riley? Who's at the top of that 20-foot long bucket list?
Oh my. I definitely would say Kimberly and Deanna Peraza. So I now train with Team Adams. So for me, it's kind of like the old Team Adams meets the new Team Adams. I would love to be able to step into the ring with her. Besides the fact, I mean, come on, she's doing her thing in Impact. She's completely dominating Impact. So why wouldn't I want to wrestle?
And how different is it right now training with Team Adams as opposed to starting at the Monster Factory with Damian Priest?
They're similar in the fact that as soon as you step in the door, you're on. Like you're sweating, you're doing drills, you're constantly going. Like be ready to go in both Monster Factory and Team Adams. Like it's not for the faint of heart at all. But for me, Team Adams, Damian Adams likes to say, it's more about confidence than it's about moves. So even though we're constantly having matches and we're constantly doing certain drills, at the end of the day, he teaches you confidence, which is something, as an awkward turtle, I sometimes need that little bit of that swagger that, Deanna Peraza, Tasha Steeles, Carissa Rivera, Karen Q, you immediately know who are Team Adams women. Like you do, because they have that swagger. As soon as you walk in the door, they have that aura. So for me, that is a huge part of my training at Team Adams.
Now, okay, this awkward turtle talk that we've been having now. I just want. Does this tie into your gimmick, right? You call yourself the Gladiator of the Geeks, the protector of the small, the champion of the outcasts. Is there some kind of connection between that and
Oh, for sure. I did a podcast recently and I said awkward turtle and he's like, awkward squirrel. I'm like, oh my God, I got so excited. How did I not think of that? But it's so true. Everyone pretty much asks about my gimmick, but my gimmick is me. I'm awkward. I'm weird. I completely am passionate about my geekdom.
Right. Okay.
And my geekdom is sci-fi pretty much. And it's books, it's movies, it's video games, it's LARPing. I've started D&D, which I'm hoping to be able to get into that more. But yeah, I am the Gladiator of the Geeks.
You've never played D&D before? You're starting fresh out the gate?
So I was introduced to LARPing first.
That's weird.
And
because it's usually the opposite. Because I've done both. I've done both. Like we're talking on the same level here. And me was the opposite. Like you do the tabletop stuff, and then all of a sudden someone walks in with a foam sword, and it's like, "Hey guys," and you're like, "Cool," you know. It's like then we go do stuff. So you was the opposite.
Yeah, so I went through a really bad breakup in college. And my friend who LARPed and also did D&D, he pretty much walked in and was like, "So, do you want to go in the woods, dress up as a different character and hit things?" And was like, "Yes." So, all of that.
A hell of a pitch. It's a hell of a pitch. I gotta tell you.
So, yeah, I was introduced to LARPing in that way. And it was someone who I had worked at Six Flags with. I used to actually be a character for 2 years in Six Flags. So he already knew, and I love Halloween. So he already knew I'm one of those people who's like, can I dress up as someone else for a little bit? It's fun. It's fun to me. I love it. So he already knew I was on board with that. And then he also knew, okay, she might crave violence right now. So here, have a foam sword. You can't really hurt people with it. Go at them.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, I got that, and then the same friend, after he introduced me to LARPing, tried to introduce me to D&D, and I went, so I'm not really hitting people.
I'm just throwing dice.
I'm hitting people.
Yeah. Not the same.
Yeah, so at that point, I was like not sold on the idea of not being able to hit people.
No, I get it. It must have been very cathartic for you at the time as well, you know, to just be able to do that.
Yeah.
I got, just as a quick parenthesis, I did 2 types of LARPing. I did the medieval stuff, but I'm old, so back in the 90s, there was a really big thing about vampires, right? So there was a lot of vampire LARPing. That was boring as hell, though, because it.
Oh, was it? I tried that once and like didn't get into it.
I can understand. Like I did it a few times, but my character was crazy. I had developed my character to be like a lunatic, but like otherwise it's just people standing around and politicking with each other. It was very, 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 very boring. Got really dull really fast.
Yeah.
But there's.
Yeah, I think I remember that about the one time I did vampire LARPing too. It was cool because I like. Some of the books I read growing up were vampires. Sure. Like I was obsessed with vampires. I don't know, most women my age and some other men non-binary were obsessed with vampires. That was like our
I read
thing.
Anne Rice.
Don't know why.
I read tons of Anne Rice.
Kind. Yeah, not the sparkly kind.
No. Not the ones that shine in the light. No, absolutely not.
No, so when they said, okay, they introduced me to like the medieval LARPing, which I love. And then they said, okay, well, there's this vampire LARPing, and I sat there, and it's kind of the same thing. They were like all in corners, very political, hush-hush things, and I went, I don't play that game.
It's not the same. I agree. I agree. And
I'm not one of those people. I can't lie. Like when I play Among Us, I'm the imposter.
Okay.
So like immediately I've gotten a teensy bit better, but I can't lie.
So for sure.
Politically it's not fun.
For sure you're not built for the vampire LARPing for sure then, for sure.
No.
Hey, let's talk some more about wrestling then.
Tangent.
You've wrestled. So you've wrestled, like you mentioned, a couple of promotions there: Rise, Shine, Ring of Honor, and a lot of the women that you've wrestled at the time have moved on. Some of them have they're on weekly national television. Others have very nice contracts as well. How about you? Have you been talking to people? Have there been any meetings, any phone calls, texts with certain national promotions?
Oh no.
Okay.
Well, even if there was, see, I just said I can't lie. So
that's right. I'm going to get it out of her. It'll be super easy. I'll get the scoop.
Even if there was, I'm not allowed to talk about it. But at this point, I'm just concentrating on training, because with the world of wrestling, the indie scene, it's kind of hard to safely do shows. So at this point, I'm just concentrating on training and working with Team Adams and Damian Adams. And if something comes up, something comes up. But as of right now, it's just
focused on that.
Put those blinders on and keep working. And eventually the people who need to see me will see me.
You currently hold the Rogue Women Warriors Championship, right? You're up to 284
Yes.
days at this point. You won it
Yes.
from Lena Lennox. This is a title that has been held in the past by, for instance, women's wrestling legend Lufisto. How does it feel to be the title holder for, we're inching closer to a full year? How does it feel? And are there any other titles on top of that you'd like to just make your own?
Oh, all of them.
Okay,
I want to, like Pokemon, I want to collect all the shinies. I'm going to collect them all. Um,
I'll
so
make sure. I'll make sure there's
they're
a
all mine.
Squirtle.
They're my shinies. I
I'll
want
make
them.
sure there's a Squirtle World Championship out there for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and Leroy Green would totally be all over that, by the way. So I'm pretty sure that needs to be made because I don't know if you are active on Twitter, but there's a large group of wrestling Pokemon fans who just constantly Pokemon gets brought up at least once a week, and there's just like a
A
thread
whole
of it.
thread.
So this shiny Squirtle shiny needs to be made, and it will be mine. I will fight everyone for it.
We'll make it happen somehow. We'll figure it out.
Yes, but Rogue, for me, holding that shiny for almost a year, that's crazy. But Tate, who is the promoter for Atomic and Rogue, that locker room that was created between him and having Lufisto when I first started being in that locker room, how it's literally it's half women and half men, and also people who are
Sure.
non-binary. It's just a mix, but it's so equal and so even, whereas most shows you go to are mainly men and like maybe one women's match, maybe two possibly, but it's very heavy on the men's side. So to be holding a championship for a promotion who tries to give a spotlight to
Mm-hmm.
everyone, and it's not just heavy on men's wrestling, for me it means so much. And also the history, like Lufisto
Mm-hmm.
held it, so of course she's, when you say bucket list, she's on that. Of course she's towards the top of my bucket list
Of
for
course.
that, because she is the intergender queen. Like, she started this, her and Kimberly. So I want to follow in their footsteps, and to hold the first step is holding this Rogue women shiny.
Well, there you go. So it's a great first step, like you said. It
Yeah.
already had a title with a legacy. That's cool stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the GSI is this weekend. If you're
Yes.
watching this in the appropriate time frame. So you're in the tournament. It's a single elimination tournament. Your bracket on your side, you're coming out the gate. You mentioned it earlier. It ain't an easy one. You're facing Holodead straight out the gate.
Yes.
How you gonna do it? What's your strategy for this one? Because Holodead's got to be she's got to be angling for a big win there now that her sister's up on is up doing stuff on national TV. She's got to be a little hungry too.
Oh, well, I mean, Holodead has a resume that's amazing, and just researching her match footage and things like that, because of course I'm one of those people, I'm a geek. I'm going to do my research. I want to know who my opponent is. I want to know what I'm getting in the ring with, who I'm getting in the ring with. And what I'm getting in the ring with when you speak about Holodead is someone who craves
Mm-hmm.
violence. She literally craves, but she is all about violence. So I know going into it exactly what she's looking for in its violence. I come from someone who's trained by Damian Priest.
Right.
So I'm no stranger to that type of wrestling. I'm no stranger to someone who also is very violent. And I was trained by him. So I have a pretty good foundation. But at the end of the day, I know I'm going into this, and I've heard it so many times since they announced the bracket. I'm an unknown. I'm an underdog. I'm someone who people aren't familiar with. And you know what? I'm actually comfortable being in that space. I feel like all my life I've had people who have doubted me and not thought I've been able to achieve the goals I've set
Sure.
out for. Like, I'm the crazy person who left policing, a full-time job with a pension, to become a wrestler. Like, no one knows what I'm going to do. All they know is I have the determination and the tenacity to do whatever the heck I set my
Right.
mind to. At the end of the day, people don't really take me seriously because I'm a geek, but geeks are insanely
Mm-hmm.
passionate and slightly obsessive about their
That's true.
geekdom. Like that's what makes us geeks. That's what we are. So at the end of the day, I am insanely passionate about wrestling and about beating Holodead. So guess what's coming at you? It's not just geek, it's the Gladiator. There's a reason I'm both.
I can get behind that, and as far as people saying people had trouble believing in you. Listen, this is where I'm going to tell you straight in the eye here, Riley. Did a prediction show right this weekend for the GSI with Colin West and Eric Corvus, and uh, you were our pick to win the GSI in our prediction show. That's what ended up here. I've talked with Jordan Blade leading up to it as well. She put you over 100% in that interview. Like everyone I've been speaking to in regards to this tournament, everyone is like, watch out for Riley. Riley's gonna kick your ass. Riley can strike. She's strong. She's gonna knock you out. It's like everyone has been putting you over. If anything, and they being Eric and Colin, they got me believing in you. It's like, I love a good underdog story, and if this is your underdog here, yeah, let's carry her all the way to the finals, and that would be fantastic. And let's say, like right now, there's a lot of women, right, and a lot of wonderful women is what I want to say. Like I said, you're starting off against Holodead. Yeah. There's also Gabby Ortiz and Willow Nightingale, which are on your side of the brackets as well. There's Tasha Steeles, Trisha Dora, Jordan Blade, Erica Lee. Let's say you make it to the finals. You defeat Holodead, so on and so forth. Who would you like to face in the finals then?
Ooh. So I can't technically say Gabby or Willow because I'd have to beat them.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, you're done. You're done with those.
I'd have to beat them, even though I'd love to face them anyway. Oof. I really want to face Jordan Blade. That's just as different as we are, our journeys have been so similar. We both started out around the same time. We both actually attended a Monster Factory seminar when we were starting out. So we met each other within the first year of our wrestling. Right. And then we both ended up having this ACL surgery and being out and having to have this comeback. So I feel like when people look at the bracket, they're a little more familiar with all the other names that are there, but Jordan Blade and myself, they may not be as familiar with. So for me to be able to put on a match with her and tear it up in the ring as sisters and opponents and just know we will beat the crap out of each other because we want the best from each other, that would probably be my favorite thing ever.
There's something good about being an unknown quantity in these situations, right? There's something good about it, and I appreciate it. Riley, it was an absolute pleasure to speak with you today. Let everyone know out there where they can follow you, make sure that they don't miss out on anything related to you, your career, and your upcoming stuff. Drop it all. Plug.
So I am on all social media platforms at the Riley Shepard. I also have a website, like you mentioned before, it's rileyshepard.com. Where I have all of my pictures, my matches, things like that, and you can totally check those out. And then everyone can see me this Saturday for the Synergy GSI tournament, all women's tournament, and so many other matches. Like I saw they just had a tag team match, which they just announced, which is amazing. Faye and versus Tara with Corinne and
Nikki Adams.
Yes, thank you. I knew it.
Yeah,
but yes, oh my gosh, that tag team battle is going to be crazy. And Nikki Adams is one of my other favorite people from WoW. So that match itself is going to be amazing. So yeah, I'll see everyone December 12th in Paulsboro, New Jersey.
Please do. And if you can't make it to Jersey, well, you can always head on over to independentwrestling.tv and check it out. December, I keep wanting to say September. I don't know why. December 12th.
Don't bring us back. Only folks.
December 12th. Check it out, the Garden State Invitational, Synergy Wrestling. But Riley, it was a first time we get to talk to each other. This was fantastic. Yeah, an absolute delight to chat with you. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's nice meeting you.
Same here. And thank you everyone for tuning in and watching today. Like this video, subscribe. You know the drill at this point. I don't have to walk you through it. It's cool. But we do appreciate it. Thank you for checking out Bell to Bells. And if you're not already, follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/bell to bells, of course. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time.